Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo, and today I'm privileged to host the one and only Kano, advocate of the High Court of Uganda, Kano Tengo Lubogo, who I'm going to ask a few questions in light of how the army operates in terms of the legal. He's a guy who has been serving in the army for some time as an advocate. So I'm going to ask him some questions in respect to things that have to do with this UPDF and then the army, in terms of how the army controls its people in terms of obliging with the law. Kano, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Yes.
Happy.
Yes. Go ahead, Kano.
Yeah, you know, the UPDF is a historical army.
Yes.
It has its origins in the politics of Uganda.
Yes.
And it began as a guerrilla army. A guerrilla army,
yes,
fighting the then government that was in power in the 70s and 80s. And so, as you well know, the history of the UPDF, it started as a bush army in the bush, a guerrilla army.
Right.
And it appreciated what law meant, even at that level.
Right.
When soldiers made offenses,
right,
against the code. They had a code of conduct. In fact, that's one of the wonderful things about the NRA.
Yes.
It had a code of conduct.
Even within the bush, they had a code of conduct.
Exactly.
So you argue that in spite of the fact that they were quote-unquote a guerrilla war or group, they still had a code of conduct.
And that code of conduct is part of the present UPDF Act.
Wow.
The code of conduct is encapsulated there as one of the schedules.
Right.
It guided the guerrilla fighters in their relationship with members of the public.
Right.
Not to mistreat members of the public.
Yes.
Not to rob members of the public.
Yes.
Not to steal or kill members of the public.
Yes.
It also governed the relationship in the army itself.
Yes.
Obeying commands and so on. It was very strict.
Now, Kano, when you talk about rule of law in the army versus rule of law among the civilian population, would you agree with me or with the president when he says they have quote-unquote for long tried to professionalize the army? How would you distinguish the present UPDF from other armies?
Yeah, as I said, that code of conduct is part of the present UPDF law.
Right.
So it is part and parcel of any soldier joining the army. When one reads the act, one does not just read the UPDF Act.
Yes.
One reads also the code of conduct.
Right.
Which is origins are in the book.
I see.
And it governs exactly how you're supposed to behave as a soldier. Right. Let alone following the rules and regulations of the provisions of the act. Right. Which are quite technical and very specialized. Right. For different branches of the law.
As
of the army.
Yes, as a gentleman who has lived in this country for some time, I'm sure you even lived before the time of His Excellency became the president.
True.
What fundamental change did you see in the army that was not there and that is there before, other than that mere code of conduct?
Pro-people.
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 Yes.
The army is highly politicized. It is pro-people.
Yes.
It is Pan-African.
It's Pan-African.
Yes, which was not there before.
Okay.
Before, in the previous regimes, you not find Uganda army in Somalia.
Right.
You not find Uganda army in South Sudan.
Right.
You not find Uganda army in Central African Republic.
Right.
Uganda army has gone to all those places after political arrangements have been made at AU level and at intergovernmental level.
Right.
And so why the president has accepted to do that?
Yes.
Because he's a Pan-Africanist.
Right.
That was not so in previous armies.
Right.
Previous armies were very much focused on the internal contradictions of Uganda.
Excellent.
They didn't go, they were not worried about what was going on in Kenya, okay, Congo, there was an issue with Congo in the previous armies, but it was very negative. In 1966, you had that gold crisis. Right. Uganda army was involved in those shenanigans but it was not really helping the people of the Congo to develop or to whatever help themselves. Exactly.
We heard about the gold rush during the Idi Amin regime versus the Bote regime.
Yes,
but then as a lawyer in the army, as a person who has actually been even in Somalia, leading a number of delegations there in terms of legal aspects. Have you seen, there are those who argue that there have been substantial blatant abuse by the army. For example, the UPDF perhaps entering into Congo without the consent of the Congo government or DRC, or perhaps involving themselves in the Rwanda, the likes of the Regemas. What is your comment on that?
Well, certain decisions are made at a very high level. At the level of the commander-in-chief. And so on. So I would not really want to delve so much into that. But I know that the commander-in-chief is a Pan-Africanist. So if he goes into Congo, there must be a Pan-African agenda involved. If he supports, the stopping of genocide in Rwanda, I think that's part of the Pan-African agenda. I would not want to go very much into any other, what may have gone wrong. Because we know commanders. When commanders are in the field, sometimes they feel that they're no longer under the strength of law, unless they have a legal advisor with them. And then things can, at that level, can go wrong.
As a gentleman who is both a lawyer but also a soldier at the same time, would you advocate for lawyers to join the army?
Yes. Now, one thing I have noticed with our army, UPDF, we are very liberal in legal matters. For example, if you go to Commonwealth countries, under Britain, you find that the legal regime in the army is very, very, very narrow. It's very, I would say, to use a Ugandan term, militaristic. But you find in our courts, we allow civilian lawyers to come in. A soldier can ask for a civilian lawyer. It does not have to depend on a defense counsel provided by the army. But if you look in all those armies, Kenya Army, Tanzania Army, Rwandan Army, civilian lawyers are not allowed. They will give you a defense counsel from the army. And that always brings in issues of trust. How far can I trust this defense counsel? He's a member of the institution. What if what if he doesn't give me the defense necessary? I
must admit and agree that what you're saying is true. I think when you talk about the professionalization of today's Uganda army, I think it's the first in the history where you see people who are highly schooled and really soldiers, the likes of you, Kano Tengo, the likes of General, is it Goddard now?
Goddard Businje,
who was actually, who are PhDs in law.
You're a professor.
And you also have a master.
I have a master's international.
And now you're now going for a PhD at the same time. So I am excited when I see people like you and other people who are schooled in the professionalism of the legal profession when it comes to the army.
I want to give the credit due to the president.
His Excellency.
His Excellency the president.
You're welcome, really,
he's far-sighted. And what the army is now is because of his leadership. He has really molded diverse characters from diverse parts of Uganda into thinking like a national army.
Absolutely.
And I think that's his far-sighted leadership.
I remember when I was young, during the times of Milton Obote, walking the streets of Entebbe or even Kampala, you would see soldiers and you get scared and but now you rarely see these guys on the street. So I think it's something that we need to appreciate His Excellency for trying to professionalize the army and giving you the true character of what a professional army would entail. And perhaps the other question I would like to ask you is, to what extent should the military or the army involve themselves in politics?
That depends on the history of the country. Because when you look at Uganda history, right from the word go, 1900, when the British came here under Colonel Colville, he had Nubian soldiers. And he spread British rule all over Uganda with the Nubian soldiers. Even here he had Pakistanis and Indians there as well. So the British colonial rule was established by the British Army, as it then was. And it was sustained by the British Army. So we can never think of Uganda history outside the context of an army. Even after independence, the army played a key role. So of course there were the shenanigans in the Congo, which were not very nice. But then when there was a political crisis that affected the future of this country, Colonel Idi Amin was brought in. The government of the day overthrew the president of that day.
Right.
So to me, this reinforces the fact that the army has always played a role in Uganda's history.
Right.
Sometimes negative,
Yes.
sometimes positive,
Right.
as it is now. But I would also believe that it can never be ruled out.
It can never be ruled out.
Because it always make itself relevant.
So you're imagining that this is going to be part and parcel of the legacy of our country, that the military will always be part and parcel of our country?
That's a very good question.
Yes.
I had an opportunity to study in Tanzania
Yes.
before I joined the army,
Yes.
where I did my law degree.
Yes.
What I noticed in Tanzania is that all the people are involved in military affairs.
Okay.
When I've heard recently in Kenya that the National Youth Service, which is akin to what we had in Tanzania, or what they called National Service,
Yes.
which involved all the population.
Right.
They also want to make the National Youth Service something like the National Service
Yes.
in Tanzania.
Yes.
So that brings me back to what the president once said:
Yes.
demystify the gun.
Demystify the gun.
Demystify the gun by telling the people what a gun is,
Yes.
what it can do,
Yes.
what it has done in the past,
Yes.
how you can handle a gun,
Wow.
how you can disarm a soldier who is misusing a gun.
Wow.
I would believe that that's the direction
Yes.
the Ugandan people must take.
Excellent.
The gun must be demystified.
Demystified.
That means that everybody must know what a gun is.
You're right.
Everybody must know how to disarm somebody
Wow.
who is misusing a gun.
Wow.
Everybody must have an idea of what the military is
Right.
and its role in Uganda's history.
Excellent.
Yes.
I like the phrase demystify the gun. Perhaps that's going to be the topic. And maybe we should write a book about it, Colonel
Yes,
Tengo.
why
What do you
not?
think,
Why
sir?
not, my brother?
Yeah, we're going to
Why
write a
not, my
book about
brother?
it, about demystifying the gun.
Yes.
I think that is something. I mean, I like where you're coming from. And even
Yes.
today, the present CDF,
Yes.
being a graduate of one of the best schools
Yes.
in the army,
Yes.
Sandhurst and the
Yes.
like,
Yes.
tells you a lot of how professional
Yes.
the army is today.
Yes.
So once again, my name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo, and this is
Colonel
Colonel
Lubogo.
Tengo Lubogo.
Brother.
Brother,
To the same.
but at the same time, he's an advocate of the High Court. I am, on the other hand, a doctorus who
Hallelujah.
prides himself in demystifying the law. God bless you.
Hallelujah.
We're going to do a book called Demystifying the Gun. Thank
Hallelujah.
you, and thank you for your attention.